Essentially, in photography, in the last 100 years, there was, film, came out 100 years or so ago, and then digital came along, 15, 20 years ago, the digital cameras came out, and then 1 megapixel to 2 megapixel, really big difference, big quality difference. 2 megapixel to 3 megapixel, big quality difference. But now when a new camera comes out, they're not much different to the old model. There's very little differences between them. So Lytro is bringing a product to the market that's going to have a big impact on the segment, because it's, rather than get better quality this way, it's taking the picture this way. So you're capturing the whole image, which is the biggest jump in photographic technology in a long time. You're actually capturing the whole image, not just a thin slice of it. Okay, so it's something new that you can talk about to your customers, something that's completely different to any other camera on the market, because now these days it can get a little bit difficult to say, oh well, the Nikon D810 is a little bit different to the D800, but not that much different. The camera's also allowing professional photographers to create something that sets them apart from other photographers as well. So if you're a photographer, say you shoot weddings, and you want to offer your customers something different to the 9 other photographers you're competing against, the Lytro camera can give them something that gives them an edge that they can add to their package and give something different that the opposition can't compete with. Now, the way a Lytro works essentially is, traditionally if I took a photo of you, you would be sharp in the image and the background's blurry, which is, it's a nice effect in its own way. But what the Lytro can do now is I can choose to focus on you after the image is taken, or something in the background. But the challenge is the way we take photos, the way we think about an image, is always about that one thing in the subject. So with a Lytro camera, you're not just selling a new camera, you're selling a new way of photography. So when you have to think a little bit about your photo. So if I was going to take a photo of you, I would also place maybe you in a certain position in the background. So there was 2 subjects to go between, because if I have just one subject and a boring brick wall, who cares if you can focus on a brick wall, right? Brick walls are boring. So what they've done is they've given the camera to a group of famous photographers. Essentially, we're looking at a celebrity photographer. We've got 2 celebrity photographers, a landscape style photographer as well, one who does portraiture, and miniatures as well. So they've come from all different fields of photography.
Yeah. We've also got a fashion photographer. Yeah, at the moment Leo, it's actually 2 people and they do fashion photography, yeah.
So they come from different areas, and they've given them the camera and they've asked them to think outside of the traditional way. And what you'll see in this photo, you might see, say, there's one photo in there where there's a girl standing in a flowing dress, and normally with a camera you just go click. What they've done, if you look, they've stuck flowers in the foreground to add some depth to the picture. So you look at the way they're setting up and composing these photos, and then you see the results as well. So I'll just quickly show you the video.
With my life, it's how I document the experiences I get to have and the experiences I get to share with other people.
I put a lot of emotion into my art and the photography.
It's a way I can show my thoughts and emotions and kind of create something that's meaningful to me.
It fulfills almost every aspect of my life.
It's unique to us.
It's not something that you do from 9 to 5. It's something you live with every single day of your life.
My own work challenges me with every new scene that I do, and to be presented this camera, a whole new set of challenges, and that's what I really enjoy.
It was very interesting to see, like, how can we apply, this technology to what we do. It's not made to show up in a magazine. It's not made to see in 2D. It's made for an interactive experience. And it's as if the camera has enabled the viewer to change the story on their own.
You can see different elements that were hidden before and discover your way through the photograph.
I do like to put a lot of details in the scenes. And this camera It's going to allow me to focus the foreground, the middle ground, and the background.
I think for us it's important that people get emotional connection to the image.
With the
Sorry?
Lytro camera, photography really becomes alive.
It's exciting to know you have the possibility of trying something new and just furthering what you're capable of using your eye for.
So we see some examples there. You can see how they stagger the subjects inside an image to create a pull-through effect. And you've got two ways of actually presenting that image to people as well, but we'll go through that when we go through the software. We'll go through some of just the very simple camera specs in terms of zooms and chips and things like this, just the nuts and bolts of the camera. So the camera itself, if you're comparing to a 35mm lens range, it's a 30 to 250mm lens. So it's 30 to 250 with an f2 aperture constant. Okay, you can change it later on, as we'll show you, but it's a very bright lens, very high quality lens, and a very, very big range. On a side note, you know, macro, some cameras can do 10cm macro, some can do 20cm macro. This one can actually do 0 macro. So you can touch the lens and it will focus on your finger. So it's got one of the probably the best macro around on the market. The actual lens construction is very, very simple. There's a lot less lens elements than there is in a, we'll bring up a comparison. This is a Canon 70-200 2.8, something you're all familiar with. Now, the reason there is so much more glass in here than here, Canon has to use some of the elements are there to take the image, then others are correcting to make sure every single beam of light hits the sensor at the same level. And they correct for chromatic aberration and a number of other artifacts. Because the sensor in the Lytro camera is so far advanced, it's a totally different technology. It's capturing, a lens on any other camera will capture just the color of light and how bright that light is. The Lytro, every little sensor is capturing the distance that beam of light came from, and it's capturing the angle that beam of light came from. So if it hits it not perfect, it can fix it up and send it to the camera correctly. So you don't need all this extra glass to correct for the glass in front of it. So what we've got now is a camera which has got a very big lens range, a very bright lens range, but is also very light. You know, you wouldn't want a camera that you're going to carry around all the time to be as heavy as this. Okay. So you understand the? Yep. The sensor itself is a 40 megaray sensor, and it's a 1-inch size sensor. Okay. So we use megaray, not megapixel. It's totally different. The technology, the chip is completely different to anything else than any other camera. So we don't talk about pixels anymore because it measures so much more than just light and color. Okay. But it's a 1-inch size sensor. So did you sell the old Lytro at all? Remember the old one looked like a square tube? No. Okay. Square tube. You know the one? Yeah. Right. There was a model out 2 years ago. It was a square little box. Looked like a space telescope or something. Essentially, this is an image from the old one, which it's not bad. But you know, it's a 2-year-old camera now. So what it could do is it could go from here to here in focus. That was alright. I think that's a little bit soft. It's not as good as it could be. But with that new sensor in the new camera, this is the size comparison. So much bigger sensor in the new model. So now you've got an image which is much sharper than the old one. If we do our focus change again, you look here. Yeah, there's a lot more detail there compared to the old one. It's got 1/4000th of a second shutter. So now you can do high speed activity with it. You can capture things moving. One of my favourite photos, if you go to the Lytro Facebook page, there's someone hitting a golf ball. And if you imagine you've got holding the camera, the golf ball's here in the air, and the person is standing 5-10 meters back, and you can change focus between the golf ball in the air and the background. It's a really cool photo. And here's an example here again of what you can do with high speed. You notice it's actually captured the dirt sharply. Okay. And again, you could not do that with any camera on the market today. As far as the processor, it's got a Snapdragon processor inside it. So the brains of the camera are more powerful than any other camera on the market.
It's actually the fastest processor you can get for a tablet. So it's the same processor that's in the Samsung Galaxy S5. It's just the fastest available today.
Each file has a lot of data. Each file is about 50 megabyte in its raw form, because it's not just capturing again this, it's capturing all this as well. So it needs something pretty powerful to push those files around. Lytro files are the only things that will actually make the fans on this computer start. So it is causing a bit of processing power. Okay, now what they've also added is this button here. The name for it is Interactive Depth Assist. I call it the Lytro button. Okay, so what it is it helps people who've just bought a Lytro understand how to use the camera the best. Now, we talked about two subjects before. If you bought a 50mm 1.4 lens and you pointed it out into the ocean, there's no point having a 1.4 lens because it's all infinite focus. You might as well have an f/22 lens or just whatever. But the closer subjects come to a 1.4 lens, you start to see nice things happen. The background gets blurry, you get the sharpness, and you get that differentiation between foreground and background. So the Lytro has this, but Lytro now you've got two subjects, which makes things a bit trickier. So while you're learning how the camera works, it has a graph inside which will show you focus peaking on both subjects. We'll go through that shortly with the actual camera. But so it can show you, ideally, you want to have two bumps here that are very similar values. That means you've got your subjects in the best position. But essentially, the closer things are to the camera, the closer the two subjects should be. And as you pull further away, they go further away. But then when you zoom in, the rules change a bit as well. Again, so that's why this is here. I shoot without this now, because I kind of know I've been using it a bit. But this is very good for anyone. It's helpful for someone just starting out with a Lytro camera. There's 3D as well, of course. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll quickly show you guys the software. Back to the library for a second. This is the Lytro software. It looks pretty similar to most other photographic software on the market. I think everything's kind of evolved in a similar way because it makes things easy for people to pick up and use. I think anyone can pick this up and work out how to use it very, very quickly. So you just simply double click on the image from your library. You've got your image there. Now we can take this. I'll just get full screen. Click there, put that in focus, put the background in focus. This, okay. But then we've got this adjustments down here. So super shallow depth of field right there. You actually see I'll focus on his hand. The tips of his fingers are out of focus. Okay. So then we also go down here. The other thing that's a little bit different to conventional software, we've got these guys. We do tilt and shift lenses. We know what they are? Okay. You've got a tilt. You can adjust your tilt and rotation of the focus plane artificially down here. So because it's captured all the focus data, it's basically replicating how a lens change in direction works. So you can do tilt for architecture and things like this, all those really cool city shots you see sometimes in here later on after it's been taken. Then if we go, of course, if you want, I'll just pop this back for the best effect. If you grab this image, you see it's 3D as well, of course. Okay, it's got all that data. Now let's go back to here again. Because what you can also do is create a presentation. So you've got, as I mentioned before, you've got two ways of actually showing the image to people. You can put it up for hosting on a website or Twitter or 500px, various places where people can push the image. So you can click on it. If you go to lytro.com now with no software, you can interact with those images. You don't need the software to do it. And you can send that link to your friends, or you can put that on your website as a URL, much the same way YouTube works. But it's hosted, as Eamon said, on that free hosting site. Or you can create what you saw earlier on in the videos. You can choose how a person sees that picture. So you might want to take it in a certain way. You might want the foreground to go to the background, and you can force the person to see the foreground and the background later on. So you've got a range of effects. If you look down here, there's a whole bunch of effects. And then you can do this sort of thing. So this is, I'm just going to slowly focus, pull, and reveal. Okay. So then you can create a slideshow with a whole bunch of images, and you can do a whole stack of effects, or you can use multiple effects on the one photo. There's lots of options there, lots of combinations you can do. So yeah, that's the software essentially in a nutshell. Do we have any questions about the software or the way it works? Okay. Do we want to see the camera? Okay. What I'm going to do is get this to the table. Yeah.
So actually, you have Wi-Fi.
I don't know how well you can see that. That's focusing on the pixels. So it's got.
Yeah. With the macro, you can touch the lens and then take your finger away and take a photo of the fingerprint that you've left on the lens.
There you go. That's focusing the actual pixels on the screen. So it's got incredible macro capability. Now, as far as us, I'll show you these graphs that I mentioned earlier. So this button here. So there's that graph down the side. If I bring one thing into frame, does this do this edge? I click on here. See, put that bar there. There's the orange is picked up on something in the background. You can see because that's focus peaking there. But my phone there is blue around it. But that's very low. That actual what we want to do is bring that into a similar size. So we're going to get two phones. You can see your phone now, or something. Yes, hold it. Hold it there. Okay. Okay, so this is what this is telling me is I actually want that we're using black phones in the dark. It's not ideal. That might work a bit better.
Choose the iPad. I think it would be much more easier.
Yeah.
Because black.
Yeah, it's not focused. Yeah, it's contrast. There we go. But you can see as things there we go. So you want the bumps, the two different colour bumps, to be the biggest part to those bumps to be in those two ranges. So as you move things away, move the back thing forward and away, it'll change where those two bumps are. But ideally, you want the bumps, most of that focus, and that's ideal right now. So if we take that shot, what that's going to allow me to do then is playback. So now if we see there, to the iPad, focus. We click in the background and focus. Okay. That's in the optimal range, and that can create a 3D effect from there, or you can do the various transitions.
On the camera, when we got preview effect, can we product the actual photo?
Sorry?
Yeah, on the camera itself, only let us to preview the depth of field.
Yep.
So can we do production the actual image from the camera?
You can send the image from the camera to a white. No, not your camera.
No, not camera.
No.
Yeah.
So
there's no way.
that image there now is a full 3D Lytro image that can be interacted with.
Okay.
But that might change down the track. So the old Lytro, when it came out into the market, all it could do was focus pull. Then they upgrade the firmware, and it could do 3D perspective shift. Then the upgrade, they added Wi-Fi in the camera, all these different things. Oh, this camera does have Wi-Fi in it too, so this can go straight to a tablet with an app. So you can actually take a photo and send it straight to that. And if you've got a mobile phone, you can send it to your iPhone.
Okay.
And straight up to the sky, and you can upload it to the internet straight away. And then you can put it on your Facebook. You can press Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
Plus.
Google Plus, and 500px straight away. Okay. But if you want to do a lot more advanced stuff, you pull it, you take the card and you put it in the computer, and you spend some time actually doing things with it. So, but at this stage, that's where it's at. But what we'll find down the track is things will change. Like what I've actually asked them, I said, look guys, rather than have to push here, why can't we use the ring to make the focus change? There's no reason it can't do that, but the camera's not out yet. So what will happen is this will go out to the market. Everyone's going to talk on forums and things like this. They'll listen, and then you'll see things change down the track.
Just with firmware updates, they can have these features here.
Yep. At Lytro headquarters, they have 27 PhDs working there on software, because the chip in this is really, really powerful. The software needs to be written though to catch up and add things to what the chip can do. So, and that'll be the same for this. As with the last model, it came out with one major feature. It had 20 different things it could do by the end of its life cycle.
One of the guys who works at Lytro is a guy called Kurt Akeley, and he actually invented OpenGL 3D software, which is basically the platform that all computer graphics have been built on.
An accelerometer and how that works.
Yeah. Anyway, so you've got Lytro app. You just go to the web store and you download it. From there, you can get a stream. So every day there's like a curated stream of images that Lytro likes, so that you've always got images you can see. From there, you can connect to your own Lytro account. So you can sign in once you've created your own Lytro account. So that'll be where your images are. So using Wi-Fi, it'll see your images from the web. I don't have Wi-Fi on at the moment actually, so I'll just go cancel. You can connect to the camera directly, either the first generation Lytro 1 or the second generation, and then you can see the images on the camera. You can pull them off onto your iPad and things like this. And you can play with all the settings, of course, and there's another feature to learn more about the camera. But I'll just go back to the stream. So these are where the images are, and this would be exactly how you see your own images. No. I need a Wi-Fi connection, sorry. So that's just going to take a second to load the stream. So while I'm doing that, all of the animations that you saw Adam create before are live on Facebook, so you can play them all on Facebook natively. So that is a file, it's an LFP file. So what you can do is, that's why the software comes free, so that you've got a way to actually use the images. But from within the software, you can actually output a 7-layer TIFF file, and you can take that TIFF file into Photoshop as a linked 7-layer TIFF, You can edit in Photoshop and then bring it back into the Lytro software. It will link up those two files again and make it 3D again, so you get all the same features of refocus and things like that.
Imagine the image is
Charging method for batteries in camera
Quicker
charge
easy way.
or
So if
separate
you
charge.
put here, like this, and then touch. Point like this. So if we go like this, there we go. Yeah, just something like along and it'll focus on the foreground. Get that photo. And then that's a really quick and easy way to show the camera with the features. And obviously the longer the so this one is a good one too. So you can see there's a reflection. People in the reflection shows the 3D capabilities really nicely. But that's the easiest way to show it. If you've got an iPad, just click on the stream and just show these photos. So yeah, here's another one with the car mirror. You can see that it's revealing more and less of what the reflection is, which really shows the 3D capabilities. So yeah, they've come a long way since Generation 1 to Generation. Is there anything else we need to add? So thank you guys.
Thank you.